Hi, everybody. My name's Don Smith. I'm with SSI Consulting, and I'm here today with Bernie Casey, and we're going to continue our discussion on the COVID-19 and restarting businesses. And Bernie's our financial expert, so he's going to be discussing some points today. So good morning, Bernie. How are you doing?
Good, Don. Morning.
Morning. So let's get right into it, Bernie. So in our last conversation, in talking about reopening businesses, you mentioned about businesses should be using a checklist. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that, that idea? What is the checklist and how should they use it?
Well, the idea of a checklist is just a simple tool to help, as you know, from a financial point of view, what we want to do is we want to accomplish about 3 or 4 things. One, dealing with the new normal. We've got to refocus ourselves in the opening of our business to find out how we're going to make money in this enterprise. Otherwise, what's the point of it all? So there will be a period, obviously, when it's quite difficult to do that, but at some point that has to change. Secondly, we're rationalizing our business. We want to survive and prosper, and we need to examine our costs. We need to cut costs. We need to tune it up, make sure that it's tight, because there's a lot of competition out there. Things are changing. The third point is knowledge in and of itself doesn't change anything. It's to create action plans. It's to create priorities. That's the purpose of having a checklist, is to create these meaningful actions that are going to really change your business. And if you don't do that, you're probably not going to survive, in my opinion.
Right.
So the last thing is we can't just rely on government sourcing, debt, increased debt, or government grants. That's not going to cut it in the long term. We have to learn how to evolve our business to a new reality and make money again.
Right.
So that's the rationale behind the checklist. What kind of checklist? I say the financial statements, Don, are a kind of a checklist. If we look at the financial statements, we see it's all there before us. The background pages to the financial report plus the report itself is kind of like a little guide for us. So as an example, if we look at the revenue section first, we see where our money comes from, the sales, whatever. So we have to think about ways to innovate to increase those revenues. How do we do it? Through technology, through innovation, through some cost cutting, of course, but we have to come up with a different plan than we had before, in a different reality, in a different normal.
Right.
I'm just going to leave the revenue section. I'm going to jump right into the expense section. So in the expense section, we've got, in a manufacturing statement, we have the cost of goods sold section, which really points to 3 types of expenses. You've got your labor, you've got your material, and you've got your factory overhead. In those types of businesses that have a factory type operation, those 3 are relevant. So we look at labor and we say, what labor do we absolutely have to apply to our production to get it out? And we have to, we can't just protect a whole bunch of jobs. Yeah, it's nice to do that, but we don't have that luxury in the long term. In the short term we do, but not in the long term. So we have to sort of really analyze how much labor we need, the labor content of our product. And the material side, we need to look at our supply chain, and we have to say, how can we improve the pricing? How can we put some pressure on the supply chain to give us price point variation, an improvement, 5%, 10%, something, or other sources. We have to look at that. We have to create plans. And these plans are not instantaneous. Sometimes they take months to work on, but we lay it out and we say, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm going to do this. And then we try with the various points, you know, to work on that.
Right. So they're kind of evolving over a period of time, right? Based on your experiences and circumstances and so on, they've got to be moving, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, people that have been in business a long time, I have, but this is a worse kind of reality than what I'm used to. I have had dips in the business where it's been very dangerous, very risky, very needing to change.
Yeah.
That's all good for experience, but this is a bigger.
It's a little bit different. This is impacting
crisis.
everybody. It's not just a specific industry or business. It's everybody's facing the same thing. So many of the suppliers you're talking about reaching out to are also going to be feeling the same challenges.
You have to press them though.
Yeah.
So beyond the manufacturing side, we need to look at our biggest expenses down to our smallest expenses. You know, they're all listed out in our financial statements, like, you know, travel expense, insurance, advertising, all the way down. And we have to look at them and we have to say, how can I improve on these things, each one of them? And we have to tackle them. I'll just give you an example. I'll use insurance as an example. I'll use a couple of examples. I've been helpful with some of my clients when talking about insurance. Sometimes the coverages are inflated. You know, like the value of the inventory is bigger than the actual true value of the inventory. So you're paying for that insurance, you know. And if you bring it down to a reasonable number, it could be quite beneficial to how much you pay. Also, the deductibles. Are you insuring yourself for the slightest, smallest thing, or are you using insurance for a disaster? So the size of the deductible is an important matter. If you're protecting your factory against a fire or an explosion, is $1,000 a reasonable deductible, or is it perhaps $10,000 or some other bigger number? Because in a sense, you're self-insuring up to $10,000. If it costs you $5,000 a year to insure for $10,000, to insure that first $10,000, within 2 years you've spent the $10,000. So look for bigger deductibles if you can. But there is risk involved in that. You have to self-insure, obviously.
Right.
You have to assume the risk yourself.
Yeah.
So insurance is an area you could look at. You could examine that with the agent, get them in, grill them, and work hard and try to improve that cost. Travel expense is another one. What trips do I make? Why do I make these trips? Is it beneficial to the business? How can I cut some of these trips or reduce them or whatever it is? Right. You have to look at this stuff and you have to create action plans. That's my point.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's that much more to say about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's really helpful information, I think, Bernie. And so, all right, to our viewers out there, I would encourage you, as always, to submit comments and questions in the sections below. We'll respond to those. If you have any questions specifically for Bernie, they will get to Bernie and Bernie will respond to them. So thank you very much for your time, and everybody be safe.